Yo, what is up, YouTube? We are in the drop of Journey. If you want to watch the whole walkthrough, then please subscribe to my Patreon. There's going to be a whole bunch of my songs. I mean, hopefully, eventually, I'll pretty much have every single one of my songs up there. I don't know about that, but there'll be a lot of my songs, definitely the most popular ones up there. So make sure you go to my Patreon if you want to see if you want to see this whole thing. Because today we're only going to be covering this amount. So yeah, let's get into it. So how this drop starts off, you can see that it's not that many sounds. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I guess. I don't really count this. About 7 sounds. So let's go over each one of these. So for the people who are watching on Patreon right now, I'm gonna just go over what I've already explained to you, to the people on YouTube. So right now we have this kick, which is from a Kobana Progressive House Essentials pack. This is the 47th kick in the pack. This is an amazing pack for nice progressive house kicks, but this was before Splice. So on Splice you could find way better kicks than this. As far as the processing on this kick, it's not a lot. It's just a compressor. That's it. Yeah, nothing crazy. So next thing we have is this Pluck, and this Pluck is super simple. It is literally just on the first oscillator we got 8 voices on the saw wave. On the A2 we have 8 voices on the saw wave. Quite a bit of detune. It's not an exact science. You just gotta mess with the detune until you get it to a sweet spot that you like. This is the sweet spot for me. Then on part B, we have a triangle at 8 voices, and we have a saw at 8 voices. And there's quite a bit of detune on both of these. I mean, not a whole lot, but it's a pretty good amount. And that's pretty much it. This pitch B, what's happening right here is just it's making the Pluck have this nice transient at the beginning. For some reason the Pluck won't play for me, but oh, there you go. So it's giving it this nice transient at the beginning, and then the cutoff A and cutoff B is essentially messing with this cutoff. So when you turn these up, the cutoff, imagine it's like slightly increasing like this, and then it's coming back down. And these settings are controlling how fast that happens and how much cutoff is coming. So it's not a whole lot. It's just like a good amount. So that's how you get this Pluck to sound like this. All right. Next sound we got is this Ampology bass sound, which is from Serum. It is a stock preset that you could find in the bass section, Ampology. And I'm just using Kickstart on here, and Fruity Parametric EQ, which is just boosting at 136 hertz and then cutting out some of these sub frequencies for the sub. Kickstart is literally just side chaining this. So that's all Kickstart is doing. Then we have this sound, which is just a sub bass I made in Silent. I used a saw wave just because it has more harmonics than a sine wave, so it's just gonna be a little bit more it's gonna add a little bit more fullness to the whole mix. It's very easy to make. I just put a saw wave here. I just put -2 octave, turned the EQ on, and then I put a low pass filter on here, and then I turned the cutoff down, and that's all it takes. As far as the processing on this, there's like just a Fruity Parametric EQ, which is just boosting up the low end quite a bit, and then it's taking away any high end that is coming through. I mean, it's not taking it all away because it's a high shelf, so it's not completely cutting it out. Next thing we have is this clap, which came from a friend of mine years ago. So I don't know exactly where his clap is from, but you could find way better claps than this nowadays with Splice being a thing. I made this song when I was 15 years old, so there was not Splice back then. At least I didn't know about Splice. So, you really had to have good sample packs back then. So this was like one of my go-to claps. As far as like how this is processed, I just have a Kickstart on here, which just essentially is compressing the snare. Like if I take it off, if I put it back on, it's doing this compression, and it kind of sounds ugly when it's by itself like that. But when you play it together as a whole, it sounds very nice. And Parametric EQ isn't doing much, but high passing it and boosting some of the high end and high mids. And then we have this, which is the percussion. And the percussion here is adding a lot of groove to this song, and the groove is coming from the velocity changes that I made. Because if you look, there's pretty much, I don't know the technical note length for these, but as you can see, they're all the same note length. So it's pretty much like that's what it would be doing. But because I'm messing with the velocity, it's going like that was a really bad thing, but something like that, you know what I mean? And so it's just adding a nice groove. And as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different percussion sounds. There's this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And really, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, as far as the processing on these, I just have them being sidechained, and I have them all being high pass. There's no need to go into the mixer for that because it's super basic. And then we have this exhaust sound, which you could find in a lot of sample packs nowadays. The originator of this sample is from a Vengeance pack, I believe. So yeah. And this is just being sidechain, and it has a high pass filter on it, so no need to show you the processing on that. And this sound is just a reverse clap. And with all of that I just said, you get this. Now, what makes Journey is the bro. I'm like so bad at these impressions. I'm sorry, but if I take away this automation, it like Journey, it's not Journey anymore. It sounds just like not that great. No, so that it's not groovy anymore. I mean, it's kind of groovy, but it's not like when you turn this on, it's groovy. You feel me? Ooh. See, that's nice. So basically, how I'm doing this is I'm taking this pluck sound, right? And I'm just automating the cutoff. So on every first beat, I'm automating the cutoff to open up, and then it closes. So it opens, closes, open, closes, open, closes. And that's what's creating that. And I could show you exactly what's happening. So that's what's happening. So that's how you get that Journey effect. And it works best with triplets. You could do it with like fourth notes and like other things. I don't know if that's the right term. But triplets, it works the best because I feel like triplets is like the most groovy time signature. So, or bouncy, whatever you call it. I call it a lot of different things. But triplets are the best for this effect. And then on this part, it just pretty much opens it up. And then it just does that over and over and over again. Like literally that's the whole song. It just does that over and over again. All right, so that is it. That's how this whole first part of the drop is created. Really, this is Journey. Like this whole thing is what Journey is. Super simple. So now let's go into the next part of this drop. So here we go. So what I did right here is I just cut out pretty much everything except the pluck. And what that does is it allows me to create like a bit of a surprise for the listener. Because you got to create like little moments in songs that keeps the listener intrigued. So what I did is I just dropped everything out except this pluck, and then I opened it up. So it just catches you off guard just a little bit when you first listen to this song. I also have this reverb automation here, and that just adds a lot of fullness to it. It adds like a lot of fullness and depth to the pluck. So how I'm doing this is basically I have this reverb here, right? And this reverb is not wet as far as it's only wet when I use an automation clip. It's not here to just wet up the signal generally. Everything in this song is very dry. But how I use reverb in this song is I use it very creatively in the way that I use it to create tension and suspense by automating it sometimes. So if you look right here, this is automating this. So you could look at that really quick. Boom. So it's a cool trick. A lot of people in EDM use, I mean, people in music in general use this trick a lot. It's just all about how you use it. But if you didn't know about this trick, now you know. You can't overuse this trick. I feel like it's like a really cool way to add like really cool depth and even rhythm to a lot of sounds if you know how to use it correctly. Ooh, sorry. But yeah, that is pretty much what's happening at this first part. So it just repeats itself over and over again. Also, I want to give a disclaimer. I probably put a disclaimer at the beginning of this video just saying that I do not have the vocal chops, unfortunately, because when I switched computers a few times over the years, and a few times when I've done that, I've lost samples, and there's like, I had things organized a type of way. Like the one time I had things organized, some of those folders were just lost, and the vocal chops for this song were lost. So unfortunately, we don't have vocal chops, but other than that, everything else is still here. So, you know, I feel like you won't be too upset at that. But let's keep going. All right, so how I did this right here, super easy. All we have is we have two basses. So we have this bass, which is B-Sod square bass, which you can find in Serum under the bass section. Bass, B-Sod square bass. It's a stock bass. I don't think I did any kind of editing to that. I think it just sounded good as it was. And I just boosted up the sub frequencies a little bit since I don't have the sub bass playing with this. And then I have a sound goodizer, just turn this up about 1/8 of the way. And then we got kickstart, just side chaining it. And then the other bass is this one, bass drill. And you can find this in the bass hard section in Serum, and there it is right there. So both of these, pretty much a lot of these bass sounds, if not all of them, are stock bass sounds, which is really cool. So like, I mean, you know, you could recreate this song technically, just don't distribute it because, you know, your boy gonna have to copyright strike you feel. But I don't think anyone's gonna do that. But yeah, I mean, if you guys wanted all these sounds, I mean, you know exactly where to find them. You don't have to like custom make them. I mean, some of the sounds you do, but the bass sounds you don't. All right, so next thing we have is this. So let's just play that all together. So how I did this right here is I literally just took the Pluck, I opened it all the way up, and then I took a bass. This one right here. Where is this at? There we go. And this one is bass razor. So you go to bass hard, boom, razor. So that's the bass I used. And yeah, that is pretty much it. It's just a nice layer for this saw bass. This is cool because it's literally just a saw on this bass, and it sounds so full. And then it just does what it's doing. All right, so to build some tension into this next part, what I did is I slowed down the pattern. I slowed down the triplets and made it go from to which just like kind of signals to the listener, oh, something may be happening, because they're like, oh, this hasn't happened before. Oh, is something coming? They're not like sitting there listening to the song like, oh, is something gonna happen? No, I'm just saying like subconsciously their mind's doing that. And then when it drops into something different, that's what gives people chills. That's how you give people chills. There's a science to it. And so sometimes I'm consciously trying to do that. And how you give people chills is by catching people off guard, because chills are created by an influx, I believe, of dopamine. And, you know, that is like the pleasure chemical. And so you're creating that pleasure in somebody's brain, I feel, by like synchronicity. It's like you're catching them off guard, but it's not in a bad way. It's in a very pleasant way. So that's what this section is doing for some listeners, because it's just like some people don't expect it to go into like this little like complextro random section that it goes into. So that's why I felt the need to explain that. But yeah, so now let's go into this next part. So what I did is I did that, and then I did a reverse kick right here. So I just reversed the kick that I'm already using, and then what I did is I cut everything out. So that way it catches you off guard just a little bit more when you first listen to it. So it's just boom, just the kick. And then I did the reverse kick again just to act as a transition into the next kick. And when the next kick hits, then we have everything opened up. We have this nice saw bass, and then we have the super saws, and we got the sub bass, and then we got like these cool little complextro things going on. So let me play the section for you and I'll explain what's going on. All right, so basically what's going on right here, we have this super saw. It's literally just the pluck, except it's opened up. So that's all that's happening right there. Same exact processing too, so no need to go over that. And then this is the bass that I was just talking about in the other section. Just to sound good as a kickstart, parametric EQ. Oh, I guess maybe I didn't talk about this one. It's high pass at about 60 hertz or so. Got a 129 hertz boost, and then it's cutting at 180 hertz because I guess I just did not like that frequency for whatever reason. And that's it. Let me make sure that. Let's see, what sound is this? Bass. Okay, it's a razor bass, so I've already went over that. So yeah, that's pretty much what's happening. Also, I added in these rides. That's like a cool way just to add a little bit more energy. If I just took those rides away, it actually takes some energy away. I don't know if you could hear it, but let me play it with and without it. So this is without, and this is with. I can hear the difference like very clearly. I don't know if it's a major difference to you, but to me it is. So the rides just add a little bit more energy, just the right amount. And yeah, then we have this little exhaust sound, which I believe I've covered. Yeah, I think I've covered that. And let's see. All right. So now let's go into this little break right here, or these fills. So I've already covered this sound, which is just that B-side square bass. I don't know if I covered this one though. So this one is bass angry bass, or angry boss, I think that says. So you go to bass hard, angry boss, it's right there. Stock basses for the win. And then we got this section right here where I just, and how I did that, let's see. So we have the drill bass that I already talked about, and then we have another bass I don't think I talked about. So let's go look at that. All right, then we have BAF buttons. So that's in the bass hard right here, F buttons. So I did that. As far as the processing on here, a lot of these basses sound really good straight out. So dang, I didn't do anything. I just literally added a kickstart. I don't even know that's just, this EQ is here. It's kind of unnecessary. But yeah. So boom. And then I have it, like I have the super saw come back in, boom. And then what I did right here, just to add a little bit more variation, I actually have a tape stop on the sub. So it does this effect that goes like, so when it does that, I just turned it on right here. So then that way you can hear what's going on. Let's see. So you see how it went, So that just adds a little bit of variation, and it kind of like signals that something else is going to happen. And what that something else is it goes back into what it was already doing. So it's kind of like, it kind of throws people off a little bit, because it's like, oh, I thought it was going to probably like keep doing this complex show thing, but then it goes back to like the simple minimal house thing that I was doing, which is really cool. Yeah. And then it just keeps going once again. As far as this effect that's going on right here, where everything sounds like it's being like muffled, really easy. Only thing I did was take this EQ and do some automation, and you guys could see what that just did. So that's all that's happening. And then it goes back in. Then I added this little tonal effect right here. It's from a Vengeance pack, Vengeance FX1 Tonal FX 10. And as far as what's going on with this, it's just got a kickstart on here and some EQ. That's about it. And then right here, I'm doing some reverb automation, just to signal that something else is gonna happen. So I think, did I already explain some? Is there a part where I had to explain reverb automation to you guys? I believe I did. Okay, yeah, I explained it. Yeah, I did. Okay, my bad. All right, so basically it keeps going. Now this time we add in a riser effect. You can actually find this riser effect on my Zodiac sample pack, which is on Splice. Go check that out if you love how Zodiac sounds and you want drum sounds like that, or even some of the natural instrument sounds. You can go on Splice right now and find that. So make sure to check that out. So it builds, keeps going. I mean, all that's happening right here is like there's like a reverb automation for that Pluck synth that's happening, and then I have you know, this little exhaust sound building up, and then I also have it do that that EQ effect where it's pretty much getting rid of the low, and I'll show you exactly what it's doing. And then it goes into the next section. So the people watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to see how I made this whole thing, you can see how I made it for as little as $8 a month, and you get access to many more projects that I'm going to be doing. So, and you can ask me a question directly if you'd like. So I hope you have a nice day or night, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Peace. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that tutorial / walkthrough. If you would like to see way more in-depth content where I talk about pretty much all my most popular songs and some secret tips and tricks that allow me to make the music that I make sure to please go check out my Patreon. I have several different tiers where you can even have a private lesson with me. It could be a 30-minute lesson or a 60-minute lesson, depending on the tier that you get. All the tiers include having one question answered. So make sure to go check that out if you would like more in-depth tutorials / walkthroughs. I would really appreciate that. So make sure to go check out the Patreon. Hope you have a nice day or night or whatever time it is, wherever you are. Peace.